Welcome back to News Talk. Continuing our conversation now with D.C. Council Chair Phil Mendelson. So paid leave, this is a really interesting idea that's being tossed around in this city, that if you work for the city, you could get as much as maybe a month off to deal with a sick relative, or if you had a baby, or maybe months off. Are we talking about months even, plural?
Yeah.
Tell us about this proposal. Where did it come from, and does it have support?
Roughly a majority of the members of the council introduced legislation last fall to provide up to 16 months of leave. Depending upon one's wages or salary, it would be 100% of their salary during the leave. That is, it was capped at $3,000 a week. And it's somewhat similar to existing benefit programs in California, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and very similar to what exists across Europe. It's a good idea, but there's a cost involved in it, and that's what we're looking at. So the bills introduced was up to 16 weeks. I put out a revised draft, a discussion draft, at 12 weeks. The bill contemplates that there would be a payroll tax of 1% of the payroll. The benefits, as outlined in the bills introduced, many folks believe would be 2-3% payroll tax. I'm clear that it's not going to be higher than 1%. So the benefits are going to have to be designed to meet the revenues from it. We're still trying to figure out what the costs are. I've tried to make it clear to stakeholders that this is not rushing to the council, that we're going to work carefully on this so that we know what the costs are and what the tax would be. The tax would be a payroll tax because that way it's broad-based, and the intent is that a fund is set up, much like an insurance fund. So this just wouldn't be leave for everybody. This would be leave in extraordinary circumstances. For instance, pregnancy or a paternity leave for a newborn, something that doesn't happen very often. As introduced, it would include issues with cancer where somebody has to take a number of weeks off. And right now, oftentimes, a person can take leave, unpaid leave, and they can't afford that, or they have to work through the illness, and that's not a good choice. It's pretty clear that if benefits are good, that promotes business retention, employee retention for businesses, and also makes businesses more attractive. And I think we can look at that and say, if we have something that's not too costly, that applies across the district, then actually employment in the district is a good thing, and that makes the district more competitive in the region. And
if this were to pass, D.C. would have the most generous benefits as far as paid leave goes in the country. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I think so. I'm hesitating because I still don't know what the final bill will look like, but yes, where we are right now would be more generous than California or Rhode Island, the other states.
And it would be a payroll tax that would support it.
Yes, and it would be broad-based. And again, it wouldn't be anytime you wanted to take leave, but it would be for these extraordinary circumstances.
A lot of people's ears are pricking up when they hear
absolutely.
this. Absolutely, they are. Let's talk some more money issues. The budget. The mayor's going to be submitting her D.C. budget soon. Tell us about some of the priorities.
The mayor has a deadline to submit the budget to the council by the end of this month. I think it's March 24th. I expect that in the budget that she submits, we will see a continuation of priorities for affordable housing and reducing homelessness. I also think that some of the initiatives that were in the budget last year will carry forward, such as continuing to try to strengthen our police department and improve law enforcement. We've had an issue with, because of a retirement bubble, a declining number of police officers, and so we've been looking at incentives. Also, we don't want to replicate the kind of troubles that we've seen in other cities, so we have the body-worn cameras now. I think we're going to see those sorts of initiatives and priorities continue with this budget.
Okay.
The city, I just have to say this, the city is in a remarkable position financially. Our revenues this coming year, will be between $200 and $300 million more than they were this current year. $200 or $300 million more. Yes, we're growing. We are growing financially at over 3% a year. And so anybody who says it's tough, the only thing that's tough is making choices. It's not tough as in we have to be cutting things.
Okay, well, that is positive news for
Yes.
sure for the city. Speaking of the mayor, she just came back from a trip to Cuba.
Yes.
Did you go with her?
I did not go. There was a sizable delegation that went. My understanding was that the goal, there were a couple of things. One was, for instance, the chancellor went to look at how they do education in Cuba, and apparently there are some interesting initiatives there that it could be of use to us. And then to look at economic development potential, given that the relations between Cuba and the United States are warming up. I don't know that they're going to be immediate paybacks. I just don't know that we'll see anything as immediate as we do with some of these other trips, such as a couple months ago to China.
Okay. I want to get to the Pepco-Exelon merger, which hit a roadblock this week. So I know that you can't talk a lot about it because you've
I own
accused
some
yourself
stock,
of this,
and so I'm generally staying out of the
We
issue.
understand that. So without giving your opinion on whether this is a good thing or a bad thing for the city, can you tell us sort of more the nuts and bolts about exactly what happened to sort of derail the merger this week?
The Public Service Commission, which makes these decisions, they regulate utilities. The Public Service Commission denied the merger back in August, and the parties, Exelon, Pepco, but also the mayor and the People's Council and others, they came up with what they called a settlement that increased benefits for ratepayers in the district. That was put before the Public Service Commission. A lot of the opposition prior to the August denial changed and supported the settlement. To a lot of folks' surprise, the Public Service Commission rejected the settlement. That's what happened. And they rejected it, if I remember correctly, on a 2-to-1 vote. They laid out some changes that would change that vote from 2-to-1 opposed to 2-to-1 in support. But as I understand it, those changes are now seen as unacceptable to many of the parties to the settlement because they seem to take away the promise in the settlement for benefits to ratepayers. And I think the Public Service Commission members don't look at it that way. They think that the benefits, if anything, will be improved because the Public Service Commission will have more direct oversight, but the benefits would not be specified, and therefore, in that sense, are less certain. So we've got this, what do I want to say, these conflicting dynamics. Who feels safer with the proposal? The Public Service Commission, redesign it, or the parties that supported the settlement who felt that that was the best approach. And we'll see if this gets worked out. There's another chance.
I want to know about that. I mean, are talks still going on behind the scenes? When is the absolute final deadline on this?
I don't know that there is an absolute final deadline. Originally, Exelon said that there was a deadline, which I think was this week. But my understanding is they've indicated they're willing to keep talking. The district is the only jurisdiction where, and we're the last jurisdiction, all the other jurisdictions have approved this. So it's come pretty far. That's, I think, why Exelon is still willing to talk. And I think the basic concepts, which are providing benefits to ratepayers, are not in dispute. It's just how to do it.
Okay, we've got just a few seconds, 30 seconds or so, and I want to talk about the streetcars, which
yes.
kicked off last week. People have been hopping on. Fares are free right now. What's the reaction you've been hearing?
Generally positive. I mean, the fact that it's open reminds people how much we spent and how poorly it was planned over the last 10 years. But generally positive, and that's not a surprise. The streetcars new and different, even though we had them until like 1961. It's new and different. It's kind of exciting.
It is exciting. Some negative comments that I've been hearing is that it's a line to nowhere. It's not long enough to really get me through my commute, that kind of thing. It's too close to the curb.
Yeah, we knew all that.
It's squeezing out some of the lanes.
Well, it wasn't planned very well. And in fact, last year a lot had to be undone because of the lack of planning and the need for safety. So yeah, there are going to be some complaints about it.
How long can we ride for free?
I think that's going to be for quite a while. I mean, I know Farebox is on these things, and I think we're going to see, though, that this is going to be a unique feature to the 8th Street Northeast commercial corridor, and that's what it's going to be about, and it's going to be pretty good for 8th Street.
Something to talk about.
Yes.
It's always good to talk with you.
Likewise.
Council
Thanks.
Chairman Phil Mendelson, thanks for stopping by today on News Talk. And coming up, we're back in just a minute. We're going to be talking politics. Stick around.